I still think HD DVD had the better picture, but Blu-ray won out.
You know why Blu-ray won out, right? Porn.
Maybe I've heard. I don't.
Porn. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time, welcome. On today's episode, we have a favorite YouTuber of mine. When I thought about naming this a conversation, she's the person I had in mind because every time I see her, it is about a conversation, and I love that about her. Today, we have from Movie Chatter, we have my friend Stephanie. Long time coming.
Definitely has been, and thank you so much for the warm welcome to your channel and for inviting me to sit down and chat with you. I've watched a number of your episodes, and they're always so comfortable, and just you feel like you're sitting down with one of your best friends, and I just love that about your channel.
That's the intention of it.
Well, you got it.
I have family and friends that know my movie obsession, and I can't go back and forth with them the way I'd like to.
Right.
So when I found this community, I was like, oh man, people that like movies like me, like collecting like me, it'd be
Right.
cool to have these conversations. And whether it's with John or Dave or having you on a live stream, I've always like pinpointed the one thing about you is she's a conversationalist. This is someone that I could sit down, cup of coffee or two or drink and just vibe, just talk movies for the longest
Yeah.
times. So whether you know it or not, the conversation is inspired by you.
Oh God, what an honor! Thank you. You're way too kind. I hope
I'm
I live
being
up to
honest.
I hope I live up to your expectations.
You already have. You
I'm
already have.
trying.
So since you've watched a couple of these, you know how it goes. We start off with a non-movie question to get us in the mood. We hop into the movie stuff from there, and then we finish strong with the five takes.
Yep.
So with that in mind, my non-movie question for you is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Scenario, I get into your car. What's playing on the radio?
Ooh, it's going to be a best of the '70s hit playlist.
I like the 70s. I'm
I
from the
love the
70s.
'70s. We're both part of the '70s, so
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be a '70s playlist mix. Little bit
Hmm.
of everything.
Yeah. I
Yep.
with the kids growing up, we always took like long car rides,
Hmm.
and I'm like 70s is too obscure for them unless it's like disco. So
Right.
I started getting them into 80s music, and then
Okay.
as they got older, they got into the 90s stuff. But
Right.
my kids know 80s music like the back of their hand. So it's pretty
Awesome.
awesome. It's good.
Awesome.
If you're gonna make me listen to Justin Bieber and you know your Waka Flocka Flame or whatever rappers you're listening to, you're gonna listen to some Beatles, you're gonna listen to some Stones, you're gonna listen to some Donna Summer, and you're
Yep.
sure enough gonna know your 80s music. Hair
Yep.
bands, early hip hop,
Yep.
everywhere in between,
Yep.
synths, all of it.
All of it.
So
You know
so
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh as I was kind of alluding to before, I love the dynamic that you share with certain people. I mentioned Cinema Dave before, but of course, the one that always comes to mind is you with John from Plat X2.
Hmm.
The one thing I love is the way, not to say that he's a noob when it comes to movies, but he has his niche, and
Hmm.
you kind of open that up over the time that you two have come to know each other. I
Uh-huh.
love when you share stuff with him. What is it about you? You have a love of doing that. So what is it that you love about sharing movies with others?
In general, I would have to say it started from a college course that I took. It was an elective, and it was basically a film history class. And I
Hmm.
had a professor who all he wanted to do was open your mind to movies that you probably wouldn't find in a local theater. It's not a
Hmm.
blockbuster hit. It may not be a current movie. He showed us things like Seven Samurai, The 400
Yeah,
Blows, things like
yeah.
that you wouldn't necessarily find on a marquee at the mall.
Hmm.
And I got so much more from that class than I ever expected that it became a passion. And I would dig for these movies. Maybe I would find a director that I liked.
Hmm.
And then I would do a deep dive into that director. And from that director, it would say, well, if you like this, you might like that, that, and that. And
Yep.
it kind of snowballed into that. And I would find these films that I didn't hear anyone ever mention. And I would tell my other friends, I'm like, check this one out. And I'd loan them a movie or I'd give them, say an idea.
Yeah.
And they would say, that was amazing. How did you find that? I don't know how I found it. I just did.
Yeah.
And it just kind of became a challenge, like to find things that weren't just like put out in your face.
Hmm.
Things that you actually had to dig for, because it's easy to go to, and I love to go to the movie theater, just pick something off the, the wall.
Yeah.
But to find that movie that nobody's really talking about yet, but I think maybe they'll love it as much as I did. And when they
Hmm.
do love it, it's even better
Yeah.
because now we have a conversation.
Oh, yeah. And it's a conversation that becomes unique because it's not that big blockbuster or that sequel to something or that book adaptation
Or
from
the
that
remake.
novel you read. Yeah, or remake.
Yeah, the
I mean,
remake.
I do it too. I get into all that stuff, but I'd rather someone tell me about something original and get
Right.
a chance to then share that with other people as well.
Yeah,
So he kind of
absolutely.
started your Criterion collection then,
Oh,
showing those
absolutely.
titles.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He was, because as I was as I started to pick Criterion titles, the first titles that I went to were the ones that he had shared in class.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay." And it just kind of, snowballed into a wall of Criterions.
Hmm.
And obviously from those you can spin off into other things that you like that are, maybe haven't made it to the collection yet but are certainly worthy.
Yeah.
And it just goes and goes. And John is such a fun person to do that particular experiment with,
Hmm.
because even though there's certain things he's very skittish about horror, I can give him a suggestion for a horror film that he might enjoy.
Hmm.
That's like, I understand horror is not for everyone and I understand why. But I keep threatening him that either try this or I'm mailing you the Devil's Rejects. So it's an either or, John. You're either going to watch Halloween or I'm sending you the Devil's Rejects.
You don't want to watch The Devil's Rejects.
Well, he doesn't. I do, but he doesn't.
So I have to flip that and ask you, what's the best movie recommendation someone has given you?
The best recommendation someone has given me. Mm, I'm going back to my professor.
Mm,
I'm going back to my professor because he opened my eyes, like I said, to things that I would have never found on my own.
hmm.
Like the 400 Blows. I love that movie. And he sat us down, a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old kids who had no interest in subtitled films.
Hmm.
And we watched it from beginning to end. And by the end of it, I was absolutely in love with it. Couldn't get it. I
That's
couldn't
awesome.
wait to find a copy of it.
That's so awesome.
So I have to give so much credit to him and what he taught us at such a young age. And I mean, back then, I'm not even going to say the date. People weren't really doing that.
Yeah.
So it was really an amazing experience, especially for a class that I had really no interest in taking. I
Yeah.
just loved movies, and I'm like, well, we'll watch movies. It'll be fun. But it was so much more than that.
You probably thought it'd be an easy grade too.
Yeah, you know what I said? Oh, well, maybe I'll get some picks for Blockbuster or whatever. It had nothing to do with Blockbuster, and it had everything to
Hmm.
do with like hardcore love of film.
That's great.
It
I
was
I
cool.
have to admit, you're talking about a class. Was that in high school, college?
College.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I took a film school courses, and I still maintain two relationships with my former professors. And it's amazing that you don't realize it so much when you're in it, but looking back, whether it's 5, 15, how many years, how much of an influence they had on you, your movie watching, and the whole filmography experience that you know, that we have today. You know,
Yeah.
I have it's almost like putting on a different set of glasses and seeing things through a different lens when it comes to movie. Yeah, I could go and watch the big blockbuster stuff, but
Hmm.
I get more out of maybe an art house film or something that got a limited run and not a lot of people knew about it, or
Yep.
had a really strong screenplay but maybe an unknown actor or actress, and that speaks more to me than Black Adam or
Hmm.
whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when Slumdog Millionaire came
Mm,
out, and it was not in any theaters. No, none of the big chain theaters, obviously. It was in a small art house theater with it has two screens. It's still there today. And we probably saw it. I went with a friend of mine and we saw it, I want to say, probably 4 or 5 months before it was ever even being talked about going to the regular theaters. And
yeah,
we sat there and we both said, this is going to win awards. This is an award winning movie. And I think it won Best Picture, if I'm not mistaken.
it did.
Um, but we saw that months before. And it was just because we were into that whole art house groove, and other friends of ours had seen it. And they're like, you have to go see this movie. And we went. And those are the kind of things that I love to do.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I missed the most when we were all locked up.
Mm, you and I
Because that
both.
theater took a long time to it was one of the last to reopen, and I was almost afraid that it wasn't going to,
Yeah.
because I've
It
seen films like Brokeback Mountain and
mm-hmm.
Slumdog Millionaire, and things like that, and Win Win. It's a movie about wrestling. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, Win
Writing
Win.
it
That's
down.
Yeah, that's another one. I saw that there, and I never hear anyone talk about that, and it is such an amazing movie. And I saw that there. I was shopping. I was walking around, and it was cold, and I'm like, oh, I want to see a movie, and it was going to start in 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm going to go see that one, and it's a good one.
Hmm. I
But
I
those are the
knew
type of movies.
I knew from this conversation I'm coming away with at least three movies that I have to watch. You do it without even realizing it. It's so
Let's hope
beautiful.
so.
You mentioned Slumdog Millionaire, and I missed that in theaters. But I think, like you were alluding to with your film professor earlier, it taught me how to say, okay, I like Martin Scorsese. I like watching him in interviews because he's fast paced and frantic. That New
Hmm.
York style that
Yeah,
now being in the Midwest, I miss a little bit.
yeah.
But he's talking about these guys called the Archers. I don't know who they are. And he's talking about this movie called The Red Shoes. And it made me go back and dig
Right.
and get into someone else's filmography. And from seeing Slumdog Millionaire, I think I saw it whenever it came out on video, so the
Hmm.
following year or what have, that made me go back and discover great movies like Sunshine and Shallow Grave and Train Spotting, just because
Hmm.
I wanted more of Danny Boyle's filmography.
Right.
And I love when a movie does that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and Martin Scorsese is, like you said, he's got that gritty New York style. He's got that down, but
Hmm.
he is such an advocate for film in general, and for all kinds of things that you might think are outside his wheelhouse, but they're not. And he just brings things to the table that you really probably wouldn't expect him to pick out. But he is a huge fan of preserving and honoring, especially like international and the films that he's restoring. He's doing those box sets.
Yeah,
I think they I think there's three of them in the Criterion Collection. Four
the
now?
fourth one just
Okay.
came out.
Oh, the
Yeah,
fourth one just came out. Okay. I have the first three, I think. Yeah, I
yeah,
have the first three. But he is such an advocate for keeping those films alive that other people might just forget and put them in a dusty room somewhere,
hmm,
because he
yeah,
is a true film lover. And
yeah.
you can get so much just listening to him talk.
Hmm. And today's his birthday. We are filming this
Is it?
on
Happy
Thursday.
birthday, Martin.
Happy birthday, Uncle Marty.
Uncle Marty.
He's
I
one of
love
my
to listen to
favorites.
him talk with Fran Lebowitz. Is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. You
Have
would
you seen
think,
it's called It's a City?
yeah, yeah. it's funny
Yeah.
because you're thinking they're in two different worlds, but they're really just talking art. It really
Yeah.
is.
They're two sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
Yep.
I'm glad that you're back to creating content, and I'm looking forward to more of it because, like I've been saying, it's solid, it's thought-provoking, and you always give me a good recommendation or two. Do you know that's a gift? Do you recognize that as a gift?
No,
Mm,
no, but thank you. But I guess I feel like it's more, it's just like a passion,
yeah.
and I guess it just kind of comes out. If I find something that I really love, I just want to share it with as many people as I can.
Hmm.
And I feel bad that I actually feel guilty, and I feel a definite void in my life that I haven't been able to create the content that I want to create. And I am going to share that with my audience in a separate video. But I'm really looking forward to getting back to just being part of the conversation
Hmm.
and sharing with anyone who wants to watch it, because I just think of us as all friends. We're all, even, whoever subscribes or watches or whatever channel you're watching, whatever friends you make, we're all one big community.
True.
And the more of us that can get films out there that we really truly love, I just think it creates more buzz, more conversation, more interest, because we can't all do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, how many
Yeah.
hauls can you do? I call hauls my lazy video. When I can't when I can't think of anything else to do, and I know people just want to see, hey, what's out there.
Hmm.
And maybe it's good because it, even if I haven't watched it, I can say it's out here. Maybe you might like it, and then I'll come back to it after I've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. But
And
people love them.
I try to steer away from film bashing, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm not a film basher because I really honestly believe, like you said before, it's art, it's subjective.
Totally.
And just because maybe it didn't connect with me that first time, there's always something valuable that you can take away from a film, even if it's that one shot that was so cool. They came around a corner and you never expected it to be filmed that way.
Hmm.
That's something good. I think everything is worthy of a nod somewhere. So I really, really try to stay out of that whole film bashing thing.
Yeah. I got two more questions before we get
Sure.
into that then.
Sure.
We got to talk some horror here.
Okay.
I know you're a big lover of that. Um, let's just start with the general question that I asked a lot of people when I did spooky season
Hmm.
conversations. What is it about the horror genre that appeals to you?
Um, I talked to John about this a little bit, and I have always been a person who is afraid of everything. I have anxiety. I have social anxiety. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of my own shadow. And I always found horror is kind of a way to face your fears, but do it safely. And
Hmm.
it kind of taught me that nothing is ever as bad as it is in your own head, like what we make of it or what we think is going to happen. And I'm like, listen, if this girl can survive a guy chasing her with a hatchet through the woods, I'm good. I'm golden. So I started watching horror from a very young age.
Hmm.
And actually, a friend of mine and we used to do a lot of sleepovers over at her house. She had a bunch of brothers and sisters. She had an
Hmm.
older sister who had a copy of The Brood,
Ooh,
and
another criterion.
we used to swipe that and watch it all the time. So, and
Hmm.
we were not supposed to be watching it. So
Yeah.
it kind of started with The Brood and it went from there. But I just feel like a lot of people that I know who love horror also have certain anxieties,
Hmm.
just overall anxieties. And but then you can watch this. It's probably like the same reason why we ride roller coasters and things like. I mean, I don't, but because I
Yeah.
think it'll go off the track. But um, it's like you're safe from these things, but you're kind of putting yourself in the moment, and
Yeah.
it just really appeals to me for some strange reason. But I'm picky
Yeah.
about horror.
I've I have been as well, but
Hmm.
lately when I see once again the film community just opening up your mind like you've done for John and I'm sure many others. I'm like, I have no interest in a Art the Clown and Terrifier
No,
movie. Now
no.
there's another one,
Yeah.
but the curiosity got to me. So on Halloween, I watched the first and the second one.
Really?
Wow. Whereas a horror movie might show you a quick clip and then turn away or close up on the person's face who got attacked. No, we're going to stay right here.
Yeah, it's
You're going to see
brutal.
the gore. You're going to, and I have to say, always looking for the positive. They did a really good job at the prosthetics and the special effects and the practical effects
Hmm.
that I haven't seen in quite a while. Another movie like that recently released is Pearl. Pearl does a great job with prosthetics and special makeup and practical effects, but those type of movies I would not have watched when I was even probably most of my teenage years. I wouldn't have watched a movie like that. And
Now, have
now
you
I'm like,
seen
yeah,
X?
bring it on. Yeah,
Have you seen X?
yeah.
Okay. So I watched X
Hmm.
and I liked it. And
Yeah.
then I watched
Didn't love it.
Pearl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. And I'm like, okay. But there were some things that didn't really resonate. I'm like, well, I don't get it. But
Hmm.
okay, we're going with it. Then I watched Pearl. I immediately had to put X back in because then X is a totally different movie.
It is. It
Once you
is.
have Pearl,
Hmm.
X makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't I'm still on the fence. Did they release it right? Should they have released it? Because I'm a big one like this
Mm.
goes with that. And I'm like,
Hmm.
because it answered all the questions that I had from X. I'm like, well, why is this
Yep.
happening? Because they didn't really answer that.
Hmm.
But then
Yeah.
here comes Pearl, and X now to me seems brilliant.
Hmm.
And I'm
Same thing
loving it. I'm
happened to
like,
me.
yeah,
Same
it's
thing happened to
amazing.
me.
Totally flipped everything.
Yeah.
So
The
yeah,
way
I
I
thought that
see
was
it is
cool.
like I saw X and I was like, okay, I don't
Yeah,
see why everyone's hyping this movie. It's okay, but
yeah.
it's not like great. You have your A24 fanatics and you
Oh
have your
yeah,
horror fanatics, and I could understand them saying this is the best horror movie of the year. And I'm like, the year just started. Chill.
yeah.
But then I saw Pearl and Mia Goth's performance in Pearl was outstanding. Like
Yes,
or hate the monologue towards the end, that's up to you. But the acting in that made me want to go back and watch X
yes,
because now it's not just one role, it's two roles.
yes.
And it it bumped up X like a half a star
Oh
for me.
yeah, without a doubt,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Yeah, and
So
it's funny because another uh, grouping that comes to mind is Darkest Hour and Dunkirk. Now, a lot of
yeah.
people they released Dunkirk first, I believe, but a lot of people who didn't like Dunkirk,
Hmm.
like myself, I was kind of like, oh, it's cool, but I didn't know enough about the Battle of Dunkirk and the significance to European history.
Yeah.
So you watch Dunkirk, you appreciate it for what it is. It's cool, it's fun, it's a war movie.
Hmm.
But then you go and you watch Darkest Hour and you see how important Dunkirk is.
Perspective.
And I tell people, I'm like, if you're going to watch Dunkirk and you haven't watched it yet, do yourself a favor, watch Darkest Hour first
Yeah.
and then put it with Dunkirk. And it should have been a mini series because
Those great double feature.
it really took you to where you needed to be to fully appreciate both of them actually. But if you didn't know
Hmm.
the history of Dunkirk, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Anytime I've talked about either one of them on my channel, I've always lumped them together. And I
Hmm.
did the same thing with have you seen the double feature on the Criterion Che, is it?
Shay. Yeah.
Okay, Che. If have you seen Motorcycle Diaries?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you watch the Motorcycle Diaries and then
Hmm.
you watch Che, you're getting a picture, a snapshot of this man's life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's it tells such an amazing story and they could have released them together.
Hmm.
And people are like, okay. And that's one I think doesn't get enough attention.
Hmm.
It's not one that people talk about a lot.
Yeah. Che is long for a lot of people to get through, but
Yeah, you have to
if you
break it
put
up.
that if you put that after motorcycle, it's like you want more, so you
Yep.
stay in tune with it. Yeah,
Yep.
that's another
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
We need to start a series called Double Features.
Yep. Watch this
And
with
just,
that.
yeah, I think that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
This
Conversations of double features.
bouncing back to the horror for a minute.
Sure.
Being a self-professed horror junkie, is your love for dramas the balance?
Um, Probably because yeah, I would say so because I come off of a horror binge, and I usually want to watch something that's more dramatically paced,
Hmm.
more of a thinker, thought provoking, things like that. I'll usually go from horror right to picking criterions off the shelf. So yeah, definitely.
Is it an equal love?
Um, I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so. You know what I think it is. Horror drives the I want to say collector market, but when I say collector, I don't necessarily mean just film.
Hmm.
There's masks, there's figures, there's t-shirts, there's
T-shirts.
posters. There's so if you would die if you saw how many t-shirts are in my room. It's like constantly with Kelly's like, if you buy another t-shirt, you're gonna need a shed out back for your t-shirts. And I have you go on Trick or Treat Studios and they have a mask for every character you could imagine. I have
Hmm.
masks all over the room downstairs. So I think that horror drives more markets
Yeah.
for people who are collectors, so to speak. Because you're not going to get, a mask from Seven Samurai. You might get a T-shirt or a hat or something, but I really think that horror just kind of encompasses all of that. And then you have the conventions, and you get to meet your favorite stars, and
Hmm.
it's part of a lifestyle for people, and some people take it farther than others, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of
Yeah.
just like it's a harmless outlet. That's how I look at it. And I said in my last video that I posted, I've met my bucket list. I met Kane Hodder, who plays Jason, and
Hmm.
for the films, and just exceeded my expectations. But that was a bucket list item.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind meeting Tobin Bell. I really
Hmm.
like his role in
He's
the
great.
Saw movies, and he
I
seems
just
like a character to begin
I
with.
think he's coming back. I think I just read something. It could have been an old article. They put him in your timeline on Google, and
Hmm.
it seems like, oh, is this new? And then you see 2017, but
Yeah.
it said something about him coming back for another Saw, and I'm like, well, that would be
Saw
cool.
X. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's great.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. You ready to get into the five takes?
yeah.
All right, let's get started.
All right.
Number one, name the film that made you fall in love with the movies.
Okay. I actually brought the films with me. We talked about the love of movies coming from uh, film class in college. And of course, I was a Blockbuster kid, family
Hmm.
mom and pop video store. But the film that really made me want to deep dive and start my own collection, would have to be Baraka.
Yes.
Love
You've mentioned that
Baraka.
film before. I love it.
It's from 1998, I believe.
Hmm.
1998. This is probably one of my favorite films of all time. It is a beautiful film. It was shot in 8K, which it just kills me that they haven't done a
Amazing.
4K,
Right?
because to go from 8K and this beautiful, beautiful cinematography and the gorgeous music that they pair it with, and just to do a 4K transfer, I couldn't even imagine how beautiful it would look. But even so, if you haven't seen it, definitely pick up the Blu-ray at least, because it's just a trip through life, and it shows
Yeah.
you the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, the polarities of life. And it just made me want to take in everything. And as I said to John, it showed me that there is more to life than what's outside my front door.
Hmm.
And this started my collection, and I have it on VHS right on up.
Number two, name five of your favorite films. I
Five of
think
my
I know at
favorite
least
films.
one.
At least one is going to be Halloween.
Hmm.
And this is actually signed by Nick Castle.
Nice. The
Met him
Shape.
at The Shape. Met him at Monster Mania in New Jersey a few
Hmm.
years ago. Really
What
cool
is it
guy.
about Halloween? You even mentioned that you shared it with John. What is it about 78 Halloween?
So it's mostly that, just that fall feeling. Fall is probably my favorite season of the year. And I feel like even though that wasn't technically shot in fall, they made it look like fall. And
Hmm.
it's the pumpkins and the leaves and the people running around. Trick or treating was always a fun night for us. And I love the score and how much the score brings to the atmosphere of the film. And I just think when you think about the budget that they had, that was close to nothing,
Right.
and they had a lot of these unknown actors, and they just put this film together. And like I told John, it's not a scary movie. It's a little, I would say, anxiety inducing the first time you watch it, but I have just always gone back to it. It has so much nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I just, you see them that, and I think that is the best mask in the whole series, because they really botched some of the masks. Like, look at Halloween 5, and that mask is an
I was just about
atrocity.
to say
It's
the
an
fifth one,
atrocity.
terrible.
But like
Terrible.
Halloween, it's just, I watch it. I will just randomly put it in when I want to just relax.
Yeah.
I just put it
This
in. I
is
love it.
this is probably the first Halloween that I haven't watched it since I had it on some physical media. And mainly because I watched it like in March or April. It's like you said, even though it's set in
Hmm.
October, you could watch it whenever.
Yeah, definitely.
What else you
Definitely.
got?
Well, this is another one that's probably no surprise. Then I have some surprise, maybe some surprises. Jaws.
Uh-huh. Yep.
My grandparents took me to see this the summer after sixth grade when we weren't supposed to see it. My mother said
Yep.
no. My grandmother said yes.
Hmm.
And honest to God, on all my dogs that are sitting here, I have not been in the water since I saw it. And
So
I
you
live,
never learned to swim.
well, I do know how to swim. I'll go in a pool, but I will not go in any water that I can't see under the water, like if it's a lagoon or a bay. And I
Mm-hmm.
live 3 miles from the beach, Jersey Shore Beach, and I will not go in the water. I do not go in the water. So it did its job. And
Yeah.
I love Jaws. And it's one of those that anytime someone wants to watch it, I'm there.
I had the same experience that you did.
Yeah.
And, it was like, nope, nope, not going. And
Yeah.
then the thing that happened is that you got three more reminders of it because you got two and three and the revenge.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember this, being that you're in the tri-state area. I was working a summer job, and it was the summer when all those pit bull attacks were happening. And it was
Mm-hmm.
the same summer that The Revenge came out, and there
Mm-hmm.
was a New York Daily News, like they'd have the commentary, the social commentary
Uh-huh.
cartoons, and they had one, and it was a pit bull, but it said Jaws the pit bull. This
Oh
time it's
no.
domestic.
Oh boy.
Yeah, because
Oh
that summer there was just like a crazy amount of pit bull attacks happening in the city. And
wow.
I remember I had that cut out on the side of my office desk that summer, and
Wow.
everybody would come. It became like a conversation piece because
Yeah.
it was a pit bull, but its mouth was in the shape of a shark.
Right. That's
So,
cool. Next up is maybe my favorite Sidney Poitier movie, To Sir with Love.
yes, yes.
I adore this film. I can watch it anytime, anywhere. I just absolutely adore it. And the ending brings me to tears every time. It's a
Hmm.
beautiful, beautiful film, a beautiful ending. And I have wanted this to get a 4K release for so long. And it finally did, but it was in that big box set
Yeah.
in the, what is it?
Columbia
Universal
Classics Volume 3.
Columbia Classics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Number one on my Christmas list.
Yeah, and this, I mean, I am very happy with the Twilight Time Blu-ray. I will never part with it, but I just think this is an amazing film, and I
Yeah, it
love
is.
Sidney Poitier to begin with. So, but this is by far my favorite of
Hmm.
his. I just bought Buck and the Preacher, which I've never seen.
Me too.
I haven't seen it yet, but John said to me, he's like, "Hey, Buck and the Preacher's coming out." I'm like, buying it, put it in the cart. So I
Yep.
just picked that up. I'll probably watch that this week. But yeah, I had to have with To Sir with Love.
Yeah. I
And
um I was just on a podcast that my friends do, and it's about Oscars and Best Picture nominees and kind of
Hmm.
like a look back and all the big categories and everything. So I rewatched Guess Who's Coming to Dinner
Hmm.
and In the Heat of the Night.
Hmm.
And I'm like, man, what a great year for cinema all around, but
Hmm.
also for Sidney Poitier being in two of the most influential films at the time. I
Yes.
mean, Dinner, they were kind of outshone by Hepburn and Tracy, but at the same time, you know, it was nice to see him get some prestige for not just one movie, but for two. And
Yeah.
those are two of my favorites, but right up there is To Serve with Love. And that's part of the reason why I want the box set because I want to have that in 4K as well.
Yeah. I keep going back and forth about it, and I'm like, do I buy it? Do I not buy it? And I'm like, I'm buying it. That would be the reason I'm buying it.
Hmm.
Um,
Not Annie.
no, not Annie, no, but to just have To Serve with Love, and I'm like, if somebody would just not want that and sell it to me, but good luck trying to find somebody that's not going to appreciate that film. But
You'd
you
be
never know.
surprised.
Maybe somebody will want, but
Macari,
then
eBay.
yeah. So I will be searching because I don't think they're going to do individual releases for any of those films for quite some time. I
Hmm.
can hope,
Yeah,
but you never know. I can
you
hope,
never
but you
know.
never know. Um, and my next one is this is just I love this one. It's crazy, it's manic, it's all over the place. It is one of my favorite Elizabeth Taylor performances, and her and Richard Burton just light it up in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yes,
They just
yes.
light it up,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I love this one. It's so funny
Hmm.
because John and I did a series of films you'd love to see on Criterion,
Hmm.
and I had to just I couldn't find this. I had it somewhere, and I'm like, which shelf is it in? And I was like, I gotta go. I have to do this video. So I just had to tell him about it. But then the next day I found it, and of course I found it and I watched it. But Who's Afraid of Virginia? I mean, come on, right? You got it. I mean, what performances all around.
For
I mean,
real.
how do you go wrong with that one? You can't.
And the I just found out an interesting thing going back to that podcast. So 67 was the year of The Graduate. So
Right.
Mike Nichols, that was supposed to be his first movie,
Mhm.
but he got a chance to direct Virginia Woolf, and he's like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, I know the play, and I work with Taylor and Burton. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
start off with that one. I'll
Yeah.
start, and what a magnificent job. I love that movie.
Love it.
I did a research paper on it, just talking
Wow.
about how that plus movies in, 67 like Bonnie and Clyde and,
Uh-huh.
later on The Wild Bunch, things like that,
Mhm.
how it led to the birth of the MPAA rating system that we still have today, you
Mhm.
know, just for different reasons, for violence, for sexual content, for
Mhm.
just the drama that was
Yeah.
displayed. You can't have that be a PG movie.
And you know what's funny is that go tell somebody that Jaws is rated PG, they don't believe you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've
We
had to
didn't have
actually show people,
PG-13.
yeah, we didn't, and they didn't. I mean, by today's standards, I think it would probably be
Hmm.
R for the
Yeah,
gore and whatever. But you tell them that it's PG, and it's like they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, I'm telling you,
yeah,
look at the back of your movie. It's rated PG. It was before all this,
yeah.
censorship, if you will, came down
Mm,
and changed
thank you.
everything. But we talked about Uncle Marty. Kundun
Mm,
is one of my very favorite films from him, and I think it is so criminally underrated. I think it is a beautiful film. It is so well done, and you don't have to be a spiritual person or a Buddhist person to appreciate the biopic that is his story. And
yeah,
the Dalai Lama is about love and understanding and compassion and forgiveness and all the good stuff that we could definitely use more of, especially in today's climate. And I just love this story, and I love the way he put it together, the cinematography, everything about it. Just, I love it. It's another one that I could watch anytime. And
yeah,
if you ask me this or 7 Years in Tibet, I'm probably going to lean towards this one. Seven
yeah.
Years in Tibet is good, though. I really enjoyed that one. And that's a true
Yeah.
story as well.
It's amazing how some of his films kind of reflect his, I won't say his religious journey, but his spiritual journey,
Hmm.
being Roman Catholic with the altar boy, all that stuff.
Hmm.
And then you look at some of the titles he's done, Last Temptation of Christ being the most controversial, but
Hmm.
really, if you think about it, it is biblical in a way because the thoughts came to Christ on the cross,
Right.
um, as it was as it was written. But then you look at Kundun, you look at Silence, even
Yeah. Whew.
he's still on that journey. That's
Yeah.
all he's saying with something as recent as that. He's still on that spiritual journey,
Yeah.
and it's a matter of truth. But within that journey for truth, you find so much, like you mentioned, the aspects of love and peace
Yep.
and togetherness. It's
Yep.
amazing.
All the things that we need right now.
Really,
And
we really do.
he just keeps putting it out there, and I'm there for it. I love it. So
Yeah. Give me
I'm
one
always
more.
last one. John will love me for this. Whatever happened to Baby Jane? I sent it to him, and he
Hmm.
loved it. And I mean, come on, Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. It's like right? It's like a dream match on screen, and it's the stuff of legends, and between the alleged arguments behind the scene, and Betty Davis plays wacky like no one I've ever seen. I absolutely adore her in this. And one of my
Yeah.
favorite things that came out of this was she did an interview. I forget who she did the interview with, but she said that she insists that the reason she didn't get the Oscar is because Joan was too stupid and didn't know how to promote the film. And I heard her say it, and I couldn't
They
stop
continue
laughing.
today.
It continues, but I just whatever happened to Baby Jane? It's just you get that song in your head. I've written a letter to Daddy,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you can't
Oh.
get it out of your head. It's just it's good campy fun.
It's amazing that the one thing I'm looking back from last month and the spooky season conversations that I had with people is while you had some classics in there, a
Mhm.
lot of people chose movies that wouldn't be categorized as necessarily horror, but
Right.
was horrific in tale,
Hmm.
and this was one of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you look at Joan Crawford's character and the idea of you don't know what she's going to do next
Yeah.
and how terrifying that would be to you as a
Yes.
person.
Yes.
That is horror. That is an aspect of horror,
Yeah.
psychological thriller. It's horror.
I I absolutely agree, and I really do believe there's way too much gatekeeping when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to what's horror and what's not.
Yeah, it's
It
true.
A thriller is horror. Psychological horror is horror.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all about it. And if it freaks you out and it scares you, put it in
Yeah,
horror.
yeah, for
No
sure.
gatekeeping allowed.
Nope, none needed.
Yeah,
None
no,
needed.
no. And what scares me or what doesn't scare me may scare you or vice versa. And if it scares you, put it on your horror shelf. Because I had people
Yeah.
yell at me about my horror shelf. They're like, how did that end up there? I'm like, because it scares me.
Your horror shell.
Yes. I
That's the
did
key
a,
word. It's
yeah,
yours.
exactly. As
It's
is
yours.
yours. It's going to be different
Yeah,
for all of us. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
If I want to
absolutely.
put Alien on there, it's my shelf.
Absolutely. It's your shelf. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Let's move on to number three. So, name a classic movie that everybody loves, but you can't stand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm
I'm gonna
ready to
apo-
zoom in on this
I'm
one.
gonna I'm gonna apologize.
Don't.
And
It's
I'm not gonna
yours.
it's not so much that I can't stand it. I
Hmm.
find it so tedious and I
Go for it.
can't finish it.
What is it?
Lawrence of Arabia. I
Oh.
can't finish it. I've tried, and it is a beautifully shot film. It is the cinematography is gorgeous, but I just can't take it with the camel and the sand and the walking and the endless walking. Oh, do you struggle with it or do you love it?
A little
Or in
bit of
between?
both. A little bit of both.
And I stop. I've gotten further
Oh.
in this time than I have
Hmm.
about an hour left.
I will say this. I watch it mainly for the acting performances. Omar Sharif steals the whole movie anytime he's on screen.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I start getting those I've seen this before vibe. And once you start feeling that about a movie that you're watching on repeat,
Yeah.
yeah, just turn it off. Go watch something else. Go watch something new.
Yeah. It's a lot of walking. It's a lot of sand. But I will say that it, like you said, the acting is there.
Hmm.
It is a beautiful movie. The 4K is stunning.
I wish I
But
had it.
I just I can't get past. I'm like, we're still walking. There's still sand. I can't take it. But
It's how I
I
feel
am
about Lord of the Rings sometimes. It's a lot of walking.
it's a lot of walking. You shall not pass. That's how I
Hmm.
feel. I get to a certain point. It's like, you shall not pass. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I am determined to finish this movie. I'm not going to say I hate it.
No,
I have trouble
it's hard.
connecting.
You know
It's
what?
tedious.
Just going back to what we were saying before, it's okay because it's you. It's a
Yeah.
subjective view. Like
Hmm.
people say, I love Gone with the Wind. I can't stand that movie.
Really? Okay.
I can't. I respect the epic proportion
Right.
that it is,
Right.
the history, the costumes,
Yeah.
even some of the acting. Don't make me watch it again. Please don't make me watch it again.
I
It's
got
it's
you.
like it's like Dr. Dolittle. I didn't want to watch that for 67, but I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, don't make me watch it again.
I
Let's
hear
flip
you.
it. Let's flip it. Let's go to number 4. And I think this is where we're going to have the most fun. Name a
Yeah.
critically hated movie that you love.
Now, if people didn't hate me for my last pick, they're definitely going to hate me for this one because
Oh,
I really like Downsizing,
really?
and no one likes this movie. Everyone hates
Really?
it. Yes, I like it. I know it's a guilty pleasure.
Okay.
I know it's silly. It's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Part of what I think happened with this is I think it was marketed poorly
Mm-hmm.
because it was marketed as a comedy, and it really isn't a
It's
comedy.
not. It's not.
And I think people saw the cast and they went in there, oh, this is going to be a blast. And it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I know it threw me and it threw a lot of people, but I always come away being like, I like it. And I keep watching it. And I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like, I don't know. But I don't, I mean, I understand why people don't like it. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just some films that I don't know. Like I said, guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, but I didn't hate it. And I was even afraid to say that I liked it because people were just panning it left or everyone the
Ah,
hate train was real.
I was on it. I was
Yeah.
on that train
I
because
understand though.
I thought I was going to see something funny and I went to the theater and I paid full price. I don't pay full price.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the hell is this? This is not
It
funny.
was terrible marketing. It
You
was
know what's another
marketed
movie
completely
like
wrong.
that?
Mm,
Vince Vaughn, Jennifer Aniston. It was marketed as a comedy, The
breakup.
Breakup,
Yep.
and all of a sudden it turned on a dime and got serious. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't feel like laughing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Not funny. Yeah.
No,
That's
serious.
why I don't watch trailers at all ever.
Yeah,
I
probably
stopped
better that way.
I stopped at Halloween 2018. That's when I stopped watching trailers.
Mm,
And people say, "Oh, trailer reaction. Have you seen?" I'm like, I don't watch trailers. I just don't
mm-hmm,
because it's either going to ruin my expectations, it's going to show me all the best parts, or it's going to lead me down a
mm-hmm,
path that I don't want to go. I go by recommendations from trusted friends. Maybe I'll read a synopsis, or if I
mm-hmm.
like the director or the actors, whatever. I kind of randomly pick things, but I can't do trailers anymore. They disappoint me.
Yeah,
So now
and
you know I'm a closeted downsizing fan. That's my
it's
dirty secret.
oh man, I don't want this to end, but finally,
We'll do it again.
yes, please. I I want to do this again. Number 5. Who would you like to see me have a conversation with on this channel?
I don't know if you've had a conversation yet, but have you had a chat with Cinema Dave?
No, and I'm looking forward to that. I
Oh,
really
oh,
am.
because yeah, Cinema Dave is right up there. He's one of my favorite people, and
Yes.
he has so much film knowledge. He's given me so many recommendations. He is a wonderful friend to have on this platform, and he's just an all around very good guy. And he has so much film knowledge. And I think the two of you together would be
Hmm.
amazing to watch. I'd love to watch that conversation happen.
Yeah.
And like I said, his movie knowledge is just endless because when he has a passion for something, talk about a deep dive. He
Yeah.
actually does film studies, and he has opened my eyes to many, many things that, for instance, the Coker trilogy from Abbas
Mm.
Kiarostami. He did an in-depth 3-part review on that. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And he's just a great all-around guy. I can't say enough great things about him, and I think you and him together would be fantastic.
I agree. But until then, thank you. Thank you. I thank you for doing this with me. Um, yeah, you're the reason. You're the reason for the
You're
title.
way
So
too kind. Thank you. And
I'm being honest. I'm being
well,
honest.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate your kindness in working with me through my
It's
issues
all
that
good.
I've been having. And
It's
I
all
so
good.
appreciate your friendship and your kindness. And I look forward to us getting to know each other better and having more
Same here.
interaction. And I think you're a great guy, and you have a great channel, and
Thank you.
so much fun. I had so much fun doing this. So thank you.
Me too. I look forward to doing it again.
We will.